Yeah, I think I'm going to take the Mavs tonight. I think this might be one of my plays. It might be the play for me. I'm just going
Ooh.
to, yeah, and I don't really like the baseball card today, and we'll get to that in just moments, but I feel like the Mavericks at home in a game that they have to win. Again, I don't know if Kristaps plays or not. That's not going to factor into my handicap at all. I don't think it's the reason why the line is moving. I think the line is moving is because most people agree that Dallas is better than what we've seen over the first couple of games. And I know, again, the Celtics undefeated on the road during the postseason, but it feels like this is a game where the Mavericks show up and look like the team that just barreled their way to the finals in the first place.
Yeah, and again, my gut feeling has not been correct on the totals either. I thought we would see more from the Mavericks offense in game one, but instead the Mavericks have yet to score 100 points in a single game of this series. So I think this kind of goes in line with what we're expecting from the Mavericks tonight. Like, if you like the Mavericks to win, I think we are looking at an over. I think these two are kind of correlated because
Mm-hmm.
we know the Celtics offense is probably not going to be stopped. We know that there is a question mark next to Kristaps Porzingis' name. Maybe that takes a few points off here, but we don't know. There's a chance he could play. Nobody knows. So I do think these two bets are correlated. Jenks, would you do that? Would you do a same game parlay? I know we just said we're not confident in these bets, but if you're putting together a same game parlay, would you do the Mavs maybe on the money line and the over?
I think that's probably what I would do. I love how I'm like, I don't know what to do here. How about a same game parlay using the total? But
Right.
sure, Chelsea. I do like the Mavs. My favorite pick is the Mavs. I will just take the Mavs on the money line at minus 140. But if I'm doing a same game parlay, then yes, I think I would lean towards the over because part of my handicap is if this is a low scoring game, and the Mavericks, by the way, have actually done a pretty nice job of containing Jason Tatum somewhat. He hasn't been he's been good in this series, but he hasn't necessarily been efficient. However, it's the Mavs' struggles on offense that have been the real story. So, if you think the Mavs are going to win this game, and I do, they've got to score. They have to get contributions from everyone, and that would make me think that the over is the right side with the total set so low. And remember, going back to the regular season, these two teams generally played games that hit the over. I believe we've had an over and an under in this series. It's low enough. So if we're talking same game parlay, Mavs and the over. Am I super confident in it? No, but that would be my lean.
Yeah, I mean it's just for funsies. It's fine.
Funsies!
But I think this is an excellent point about Jason Tatum, especially if you like the over here. Because just like we were saying that positive regression should be coming for Kyrie Irving, same
Mm-hmm.
could be said for Jason Tatum. Last game, he was 1 of 7 from the 3-point line, shot 6 of 22 from the field. So there is a chance that he is much better in this game as well. The Celtics have a host of scoring options. That's never really the question for me. But let's take a quick dive into the correct series result market because obviously these odds have changed game to game. You can bet on the Celtics to sweep at plus 310, Celtics to win 4-1, plus 180. Celtics to win 4 games to 2 is plus 475. Or do you think that the Mavericks somehow come back from this? Do any of those bets sound appeasing to you or appealing?
I
Appealing.
would say if I'm going to bet, I I like the Celtics in 6 before this series began. So that is where I would go here. I feel like the Mavs are good enough to get a couple. I didn't necessarily think they would steal one in Boston. I thought they would cover the number for sure. They got a push, I think, in game 2, depending on where you got it. But I think they're good enough to at least get one tonight and then maybe another when we go back to Dallas and then the Celtics close things out. It's a tough one. I'm going to stick with the Celtics in 6. Does Kristaps Porzingis possibly not playing affect how you look at this game at all?
Well, do you think there's any strategy here? The fact that Jason Kidd has to game plan for this team with or without Kristaps Porzingis? Because it feels like it might be a bit of a different roster or a bit of a different rotation if you're facing the unicorn here. So I don't know. Maybe there's some gamesmanship involved, but I am looking and I do see a video of this like happening while he is playing. I think this comes with the territory when you're built like Kristaps Porzingis. I think we forget that NBA players are freaks. some of them that are this tall, like their body's going to be like, come on, man. How am I supposed to support 7 feet of you? I've been working really hard. So I don't know if he's going to play. Wouldn't you think that he could have some type of a brace fashion, though? Because it sounds like something's like popping in and out. Wouldn't they put like a brace on it? Or is that just me saying, hey, rub some dirt on it? It'll be fine.
Bro, rub some dirt on it. It's the finals. I don't care, bro. I don't care. It reminds me of a quick story about Scotty Scheffler. This is off the mark a little bit, but I was reading about his history, and before he competed in the national championship when he was at Texas, a couple weeks before, he got a thorn stuck inside his thumbnail or one of his nails, and if he had it removed, then he would have been out for the national championship. So what he did was he kept that thorn in his finger for a few weeks, and so he would hit a golf ball, ice his finger. Hit a golf ball, ice his finger. And did this for a few weeks and then had it removed. So, how bad does Kristaps want it? It's a different injury. But if they're saying he's day-to-day, he's a game-time decision. As bizarre as this injury is, and as hurtful as it appears to be, if he's day-to-day or a game-time decision, then it looks like he can still play.
Yeah, and he's walking around. So people are like shooting pictures and videos of him walking around Dallas and saying, okay, what's wrong with him? So I don't know if they're saying that, hey, we're really confident in the series. Maybe we'll just use Porzingis as like break the glass in case of emergency thing.
Right.
Because they have a 2-game lead. So I don't know if this is them being like cocky and saying, well, we don't even need him. Like, didn't we sweep the Pacers without Porzingis? Yeah. Maybe the same deal with the Mavericks here. I don't know. So we'll see if he plays. But we've seen the Celtics team, even without Porzingis, be extremely dominant. I think a lot of this falls on the Mavericks and how they perform as a team. Because we know the Celtics are probably going to have a decent game. Even when they have like a mediocre game for their offense, it's still a good game. So I think a lot of the onus is still how well do the Mavs play and how well does that offense fare against this Celtics defense. So I still think that this is more on the Mavericks than it is on the Celtics.
I like the Mavs full game too, Jenks. I'm just with you. I'm a little nervous to play that. I probably will before, tip, assuming this line doesn't move anymore, because it has moved to 2.5 at some spots over at BetMGM. That's where you can get it right now with Kristaps Porzingis and his news. But I like the Mavs in the first quarter, partially because they're back at home. There's some desperation, urgency. Like, they cannot lose this game if they want to have any chance of coming back in this series. It's never happened before, a team down 0-3. So they have to start off strong in this one. They can't afford to play from behind. I mean, they got down huge in game 1, and yes, they were able to kind of claw back in that, but clearly didn't work out for them. Game 2, they were actually leading at the end of the first quarter, so had a very strong first quarter, and then kind of, trailed off from there. But part of the reason, another reason I should say, that I really like the first quarter is because Kristaps Porzingis, we don't know what he's going to look like or if he's even going to play at all. I imagine if he does play, he's going to be extremely limited, but Porzingis has had a major contributor, or had a major impact in the first quarter of these games. So he's led all players in points. He's led all players in field goal percentage, plus minus as well, and blocks. So, I mean, he's been doing a ton. The most production that we've seen from him comes early on in these games. If he's not in the first quarter, or if he's in a limited role, I think the Mavs can take advantage of that. Their defense also shifts a little bit in terms of how they defend the Celtics. So Mavs first quarter is my -1.5 is my favorite play in tonight's game.